Okay, go ahead, please, Teacher Janelle.
Okay, number one, VOOV no password PMI was set. And enter 3 minutes before class time and end on the 50th minute. 1.0 duration. If you entered earlier and ended later, like on the 55th minute or more, class status will be completed. Is it
BSROT.
BSROT or completed OT? OT or overtime won't be paid and late has been corresponding deduction.
Okay, let me explain that a little bit. Um, our VOOV is just like your VOOV ID, right? You have your VOOV ID and your link right now, correct, Teacher Janelle?
Yes, ma'am.
So, then what later on, like Teacher Nisha, I'm not sure with you, Teacher Rachel, if I've asked you for your VOOV Enterprise as well.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Okay, so for both of them, they already have logged in kasi their Ding Talk. So
Mm,
once they have successfully logged in the Ding Talk, they can also log in their VOOF. Then
okay.
once you've done that, I'm going to ask you to set the no password with waiting for your student to wait in case you're still having a class. And also the PMI is set. It's just like you have to tick something that your ID won't change every time there's a new student. I will instruct you how to do that. Okay, and give you some screenshots. So meantime, here as you start your class, um, do you know what to do, Teacher Nisha? How to start your Zoom? Sorry, your VOOV?
How to start the VOOV? I just
Because
have
you
to.
entered my meeting room, right?
Yes, ma'am. I
Let's say
just
you
click
will do the
join.
class. Join,
Mm.
no. It will be start.
I see. Okay, ma'am.
Start. Teacher Rachel, um, start button. You know where it is?
Yes po, ma'am.
How about you, Teacher Janelle?
Start button of Boo ma'am. I cannot say because uh start button, ma'am, right?
Yeah, once you're going to start your class, because you joined my meeting,
Mm-mm.
but I started my meeting. So I click start.
Oh, I'm sorry, ma'am. I cannot see it here in my end po.
I'm not showing start button because I'm using my VOOV right now. I cannot show
Yes,
it.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So what I'm saying is that what you need to do when you start the class, you need to click start button of your own VOOV. You don't join the meeting, you start. Click start. And then what you need to do is enter 3 minutes before the class time, meaning if your class starts at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you should enter at what time, Teacher Janelle?
157.
Correct. And then, so start at 2 o'clock, you admit your student at exactly 2 o'clock, and then
Okay.
end on the 50th minute. That is for
Okay.
1.0 duration. There are
Okay.
instances I mentioned that there are 2.0 duration or half of this, so 0.5. Then there are some instances that they just want to know their band score. So meaning to say, if it's like that, then you should learn how to do like quick warm up and then mock test, maybe just 11 minutes because you only have 25 minutes. So maybe 10 minutes answer correction and give the band score 4 minutes
Okay.
to be able to give 0.5 duration. You get it?
Okay.
Kasi may mga ganun eh. They just wanted to know their band scores. So that's 0.5 or 25 minutes. You get it?
Yes, ma'am.
So, meaning to say, warm up maybe 2 to 3 minutes, 11 minutes mock. Kasi di ba, mock test is how long? 11 to
14.
14, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And then 10 minutes answer correction. Quick lang. Maybe like highlights of the correction. And then
Okay.
band score. 4 minutes. Band score feedback. So which makes it 10, 20, 25. So cut this to maybe 1 to 2 minutes. Medyo mag-over ka ng konti. Kasi
Okay.
meron talagang ganito. Ito yung medyo nahihirapan yung mga IELTS teachers pero kaya naman pag
Okay.
praktisado ka na. Okay, but I give you an idea so that you won't get shocked. Okay, clear? All clear?
Yes, ma'am.
So the thing is, since let's say you just started and it's kind of difficult for you to follow the time management and you extend, right? Maybe on the 54th minute, ganyan. Wag lang aabot ng 55th minute kasi mag-aano na siya, completed OT na siya. BSR OT. BSR is the red button, band score report. Mangyayari, since we are online, yung mismong band score report nung trial class, mag-OT na, hindi niya makukuha on time. And then our TAs who are on the next line are waiting for you to finish so that they will call the student because our TAs are acting as sales. So they would call your student right away and ask if they want to enroll in your class. That's how it happens.
Okay.
Question so far?
Ma'am, question po.
Go ahead.
Will it show, ma'am, kung for 25 minutes po yung class?
Yes, ang mag-appear dito, if you can see this one, the duration is 1.0. Length, 1.0. Ang mag-appear dito, 0.5.
Okay. Thank you po.
Yes. So this is the class detail page. I took a screenshot of that because you need to be familiar with copy ID. If you click this, you click that in your system, you will get all the details about your student of this class. It will give the name, his ID, the time, the date, and so on. I can't remember the time, the date, and the length of the class. So you'll be needing this in order, let's say you wanted to talk about this class and you wanted to coordinate to TA. This student like to buy my class, please follow up for me. Thank you very much. Ganon. So you send that in your GC, in your Skype GC, because our coordination with TAs are in Skype. And then this one, if your student hasn't arrived, let's say 2 o'clock class, right? Your student hasn't arrived, you can click this button. It's remind message to your student. And then you also send a reminder in TAGC that, so you copy ID and say, TA, please remind my student because she hasn't arrived. The next would be if your student arrived in class already in your VOOV, notify your TA again, student has already arrived or student is here. Okay. And then you can see here the class status because at the end of your class, this has to be completed. Here is yung ET, nakalagay dito trial class. This one is NL, meaning the class is done. I mean, no, sorry. It means that this student has already enrolled in your class. Okay. Any questions here so far? Because also, once you have logged in properly in your VOOV Enterprise, what's going to happen is the recording of that class will automatically be here, recording. So you copy this, and then if I ask for a recording or TA will ask for a recording, it will just be here. It's automatic. Questions? None?
No questions po.
Okay, so that's why it's very important that you enter 3 minutes before class time and end on the 50th, because if not, the recording won't be there. Okay. Next, teacher Nisha, can you please read number 2?
Number 2, check class status from class detail after each class. Class status completed. If status is pending, BSROT, IELTS, go back to completed after each class on the 50th minute. Maybe scoring or bound score feedback isn't completed. This part requires 10 words per category. If not completed, our students won't get the BSR report and can greatly affect your booking rate. OT lesson system will not pay our lesson time fee. Reasons for OT trial lessons not clicked complete within 5 minutes of the end of the lesson time.
Okay. How to check if you have completed it? So, remember when you were practicing for your demo, when we also was coaching you during the demo class, we asked you to click save and complete. Do you remember that? And then
Yes,
confirm.
ma'am.
Yes. So if you do that in each class, what's going to happen in the class detail page, it won't be pending anymore. The status there would be completed. So what does it mean? Your student will get the report, the band score report that you prepared in that class. And then, as I've mentioned, TA can already, at the end of that class, they know it already. Pagka class status completed, they will call right away. If it doesn't have, it's not completed, then student doesn't have the report, they cannot follow up, right? So there are some instances where when teacher cannot complete, and that will be when the system is it lags. It's a system issue. So when there's a system issue, you can just inform TA. Click copy ID, inform TA, and say like this. It's towards the end. I took a screenshot. You will say class ID. Remarks, hello TA, this class is on BSROT because of system issue with um, screenshot.
Screenshot.
So waiting. So your system is waiting because of the system is lagging, something like that. So then TA will take note of that and probably call me because there were 3 websites. Remember when I invited you, I said there are 3 websites that we can use in this class. You remember?
Yes, ma'am.
There's Itong Zuo. What's the other one? It's OEPBK. And there's the third one. If you don't have it, I can give it to you again. Please just remind me, okay?
Yeah.
I think I have it somewhere here. Okay, wait. I don't have it here. I'll just update this on the 3 websites that we can use, okay? So that's it for the completed status. Let's move to the system glitch. Number 3, teacher Rashid.
System down or glitch. Make sure both websites, iTong, Zuo, and OEPBK are open. Use the backup IELTS material in case system is down. Always be ready just in case. Backup IELTS material saved. Send screenshot and class ID for this class.
Yeah, I was looking for the websites. The 2 are here. I will just add the third one. The thing is, when you do the class, you can already open item Duo, and then OEPBK should be also open, just in case there's a problem of loading in item Duo. And there's a third one, as I've mentioned. So also, we have some PDF files of the IELTS materials. I can share that with you once you are about to start already. Okay. As I've mentioned, once there's a problem in the system, you can notify the TAGC. Just send the screenshot and class ID and send the remarks, like what's going on. Okay, just to inform, because what's going to happen is TA know that you're having a class, but then it will be delayed. The band score report will be delayed. So that's why you need to notify. So that delayed din yung pag-call nila kay student. So it's just coordination. Number 4, please, teacher Janelle.
Number 4, ET or NL class methods. ET the PREC on part 1 and 3 and IMF on part 2. NL part 1 and 3 variations of PRECR.
Okay. Since we have 2 that finished Ding Talk, teacher Rachel, are you in ET2? Or
Yes, ma'am.
how about NL1?
I'm still on the second training, ma'am.
Okay,
Not sure.
so you haven't reached NL1.
Not yet, ma'am.
Okay. How about you, teacher Nisha? What are the variations of PREC for NL? NL means normal class.
Oh, I see. So for PREC, we can use different methods.
Yes.
We can use PREE, PRE, 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 and then PEE, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So those variations, yes, for the NL class. Meaning to say, the first one is an ET, so your methodology is PREC for part 1 and 3. For part 2 is going to be IMF. Teacher Janelle, since you haven't started Ding Talk, part 2 will be using another method. It's IMF. That's just
Yes, ma'am.
introduction, just like your point, more or less. The M would be the main points because there are bullet points in part 2, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Like who are you with, how, mga ganon, mga bullet
Yes, ma'am.
questions. And then F would be future, or it can be part of the conclusion. That's how you're going to prompt your student to answer in part 2.
Okay,
Okay.
ma'am.
But this is just for ET, because in the NL for part 1 and 3, the PREC can be also varied. It can be point, reason, example, example, point, reason, example, point, example, example, and so on.
Okay.
Depende sa pagsagot niya. Okay? All clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Teacher Rashid, you can take note of this. You will be, you're about to start there.
Yes.
Now, by the time that you start, teacher Nisha,
Yes,
now that
ma'am.
you're doing your orientation, I can create. The thing is, I don't work Friday night, and I have meeting until like 5. So what I can do is, now is 24, right? Now is 24. Um, are you anxious to start? Are you very excited to start?
Yes, ma'am, but I can delay it until second week of September.
Oh, that's a long time.
Oh, I see. Okay, ma'am.
Super long time. I'm just
Mm-hmm.
thinking of next week. Like we
Yes, ma'am.
play it to
I'm okay
maybe
with it.
27th or 28th. Which
Okay,
one do you like better? Which date do you like?
28, ma'am.
28th
Yes, ma'am.
start date.
Yes, I'll just check
Is it
which
full
date
time
it.
or part time?
Part-time, ma'am.
Part time. Okay. Because you're still working. Are you still working?
No, ma'am, I'm not working. I don't have work for now.
But you don't want to go full time.
Um, because I have two kids, ma'am, to look after. That's why I'm
Ah,
only thinking of part-time for now.
I see. Okay, no worries. Alrighty, but the part-time rate VIP is 175.
Mhm. Okay, ma'am. But for
It's
full-time,
not 205.
it's
For full-time,
205.
it's 205.
I see. Okay.
Yes. Okay, I take note of that. All right. Going back, when you start, Teacher Nisha, well, all of you, on
Mm-hmm.
your first week, you'll be given this amount of ETs, five, correspondingly. Oh my God. Until you are able to gain your students. So of course, the more you get students, and it's not yet filled up based on your time availability, they will still give you ETs. So, but then I'd like to emphasize that ETs, even if it's priced at 90 pesos, the company is paying so much for that. There's a lot of TAs who look for students to give to you, meaning to say they give it to you because they trust that you will make that student enroll in your class. So please don't waste it. Meaning to say, if you have ETs, please give prime importance not to miss this opportunity because it's an opportunity. You get it? It's just like your opportunity to gain students. You get it?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So then this is just the plan how you get your students. And of course, um, most teachers would want to have a steady flow of ET. So we must, based on your demo, don't forget the flow that you learned at the beginning because what happens is when teachers are already teaching, right? And then first week, second week, so nagpupull na yung students, especially if they're good. And then the moment they're having classes day in, day out, they develop their own sequence. They develop their own strategy, which shouldn't be the case because um, the problems arises when that happens. Let's say the teacher would be, how do I say, the teacher would be correcting directly without involving student in improvement of the answer, which can be very bad because it becomes the teachers, um, because we have to maintain that students need to participate in answer correction at least 50 or more percent of the time in answer correction, meaning to say while you develop the student's answer you must involve them, so the idea has to come from them. You just fix it for them. So all of the things that you do there in answer correction as a teacher would be, um, is just to guide them how to answer better. But of course, the moment your student doesn't know the answer, that's when you come in. But give them um, teach them the ability of analytical thinking. How can I make my answer better? Because up until now, I still have good teachers that some students of theirs have already can already reach the target score, but then teacher has been spoon feeding. Then maybe one or two can complain that, hey, teacher, it's your idea. You changed my idea completely. So you cannot, of course, please all your students. So that because the teacher developed her own methodology. So just a warning in advance. Okay,
Okay, ma'am.
let's move on to the requirements. So the thing is, when you do your ET at the beginning, of course, you can only cover maybe one question or two questions. But by the time they become your student, then there's already some requirement. Or if your student came from one teacher and transferred to you, because the thing with the ET class, they can choose from VIP, native, Chinese teachers. Filipinos are under foreign teachers, so regular and VIP. So they can have several ETs from different teachers, and they can choose whichever teacher they like. So now, meaning to say, by the time they start an ET with you, they probably already learned the method. So, for those kinds of students, it's very important to set the expectations. This one is very important. You don't just go into the usual sequence. It's very important in each and every class that the expectation, or what is the objective, why the student is taking your ET class, is taking your class. Why do they want to study with you? That's very important. If you're able to address that primary question and then adjust the methodology, because the thing is, there are students who will take the IELTS maybe in a week's time or maybe in 3 days' time, but the others can have maybe 1, 2 weeks. Then the four, no, not 1 or 2 weeks. Sorry, that's 1 month or 2 months. Then for those students who are going to study with you for a longer period, you can apply this method that you learned, this sequence, this upgrade with a lot of you correct the connectives, what are the paraphrases, how can you improve the vocab, right? How can you improve the expressions by teaching them about collocations or idiomatic expressions, all these details, if they have all the time in the world. But if they're rushing, that student would just like to practice as many questions as they can, because IELTS exam will be in few days. Then you have to adjust the methodology. The In the answer correction, you adjust accordingly, meaning to say, practice as many questions as you can in the NL class. It's no longer the ET. But in the ET, you must also adjust accordingly, kasi nga baka galing sila sa ibang teacher. So they probably also would like to discuss a lot of topics, discuss a lot of questions. Then your corrections will be less details. It can be like highlights on your pronunciation, blah, blah, blah. Let's say you have trouble pronouncing this letter, P and F, or R and L, something like that. On your fluency, we need to have more connectives and have more, and so on. Whatever it is that you can give based on the performance. Like, how can you improve the overall, let's say, grammar or sentence structure? But still, you need to have class notes, because the number of words per question, the requirement is, can you please read this, Teacher Nisha?
Number of words per question, more than 15 words.
Yeah, more than 15 words. So, di ba, per question, right? Yung tinype mo, teacher, has to be more than 15 words. Yep. And also the number of questions to be covered for the NL classes. Can you please read this, part one?
Part 1, 5 questions.
Sorry. Okay.
Part 2, 3 questions, merging topics. Part 3, 4 questions.
Yeah. So basically, let me just highlight this. Basically, there's like, this one is from QC, wherein, just to give you an idea why we have this, let's say I'm your NL student and I'm studying with you for maybe 2 weeks. And whenever I have a class with you of 50 minutes in duration or 1.0 in duration, we only practice maybe 2 questions in part 1, or maybe we only practice 1 question in part 2, or maybe we only practice 2 in part 3. So it means that, and I enroll with you, right? Maybe I have a class with you every day. So it means that you kind of waste my time and money. It's not a value for money when um, we only discussed few questions. Can you understand where the students are coming from?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, it's just like this is to maximize the time that they spend time with you. So if it's an NL class, part 1, why 5 questions? What you need to do is you have to divide the time. Take the 10 minutes. Because after all, part 1 is just 2 sentences, right? The point and the reason, or the point example, right? So you must, maybe at the very beginning when you are still teaching the PREC, then maybe you cannot cover 5. Maybe you can only cover 3 because you need to explain and student has to adjust with a mind map of PREC. But then on the second and the third class, you must be able to train your student to answer faster. Or but then maybe the student is quite has a low foundation, then you cannot practice all of this. Then you just need to know the reason for that student for not being able to cover this, because after all, it's not just you, it's partnership, right? You just guide your student to answer, correct? So but then we have this standard by the QC that it's being checked whenever you have NO classes. Questions about this? Teacher Rashid?
No questions po, ma'am.
Teacher Nisha?
No questions, ma'am.
Yeah, about the part 2 merging topics, can you tell me a little bit about why it's called merging topic, Teacher Nisha?
It's called merging topics because there are 3 questions.
Yes.
Yes.
Actually, in part 2, merging topics, remember when you click the course plan, di ba yung independent topic teaching, and then if you click the merging topics, the system will choose all the time 3 topics in part 2. Kaya Teacher Janelle, when we're having the training, I said choose independent topic teaching. Don't choose merging topics
Yes, ma'am.
because the system will prompt. Kumbaga, kung ako yung student mo, I always expect that we will discuss 3 part 2 topics because it's merging topics ang clinic mo dun sa course plan. So choose independent topic teaching. How does it go? There are 3 sets of part 2 topics, and the 3 sets of part 2 topics will cover we'll be discussing one storyline. Let's say it's about somebody who knows how to cook. So lahat ng mga bullet points is about a person who knows how to cook. It's just one storyline. So what you need to do, since you have like a lot of bullet points, you connect all the story about that. So it means for this kind of discussion in one class, that student has to be quick and teacher has to be quick in typing as well. You get it?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So let's say your student isn't quick and teacher isn't quick, then maybe you can cover maybe only 2, maybe because the student is only advanced score 6 and is still, trying to adjust. She's not so advanced. So that's why you're only able to cover 2. But if she's advanced, then you should be able to connect all those stories faster. Okay. So any questions there in the requirement here? This one is very important, right? So I need you to ask this or set this expectation with your student as to how do you like this class to be? Do you like to cover a lot of topics with less details, or do you like to cover less topics but with more details? So you need to ask this question so that you can adjust accordingly. It's very, very important so that you know for this class, you can meet the expectation of your student. Okay? Questions? Hello? Are you still there?
Yes, ma'am.
No
No
questions po.
questions po.
Okay. So in the Ding Talk training, teacher Janelle, you will start with this number of training. For some teachers who are going to do it continuously, they can finish this for like 3 days because the longest is the IELTS scoring. So what you can do, teacher Janelle, is you start with a sensitive issues test, which I'm going to give it to you later. This one. Unahin mo na to so I can create your page, this first one. And then maybe this, since you're not very busy, right? You said you can,
I'll try, ma'am.
well, I'm creating your page maybe also early of next week, maybe towards the latter part, then ihabol mo to. Itong
Okay
dalawa.
po.
Kasi ito
Okay
lang
po.
naman ang mahaba dyan eh. It's the IELTS scoring. Medyo mahaba yan. Pero this one, short na lang to. Day 2, day 3, and all. It's very short. This one also very short. Okay. Then let's move on to when student is late or absent. Dali natin yung G. When student is late or absent, I already taught you what to click here, right? So you click class remind here, and then what you need to do is copy ID here, click, and then send a message to your TA in Skype like this. So this is the ID, this is the remarks. You say, sorry, asa na ba yun? Yeah, remarks. The remarks would be, good afternoon, TA. I've already clicked class remind. Please get in touch with my student. Yung remark, syempre, depende sa what's happening. What do you want TA to do? Yes, yun yung remarks mo. What do you want TA to do? Okay, so every time you get in touch with your TA, this is what you need to do. With send class ID and then your remarks like this. This one. Okay. So if student has already arrived, you will say TA, student is already here. Pero once the student is absent, there are two ways to, what are the two ways to do when the student is absent? One is, if it's an ET class, you will say TA, student didn't arrive, waiting time is 25 minutes. This is full already. So waiting time is 25 minutes, whether it's 2.0, 1.0, or 0.5, all of those waiting time is 25 minutes. Later, the remaining duration of the meeting is less than 10 minutes. You can upgrade to Pro later. Okay. So if it's ET class, you ask your TA to tag SAP. But if it's NL class, then you can tag it on your system. And I think I took a screenshot of that. It's this one. So wait a minute. Is it here? Maybe no. It's here. Well, it's taking some time, but I will tell you that how do you tag your student if it's an NL class? This is the recording, right? This is the part of the recording. Below, you can see there SAB. It's student absent and then save. It's down below. I haven't taken a screenshot of that here. So I'm trying to click here, but it's taking some time. Yeah. So you can check the class detail page. It's in the class detail page. You can click SAB and then save. The save button looks like this. It's a red button. It's just below this recording slot. Okay. So that's for the absence of your student. So the status of this class is it's not completed because the student is absent. So iba yung tag. Okay. Next would be this is how to communicate with TA. And then number 10. Teacher Rashid, please read number 10.
Before start of new teacher, discuss taboo topics, political and religious, and get sworn statement.
Okay, the thing is, why it's important that I ask all teachers to send me that screenshot that you finished that, because it's very, very, very important that we don't discuss any of those that was discussed in that training, because this one is online app and it's in China. At the same time, the government is already looking at our company for those red tags, that let's say a teacher would mention Hong Kong is a country or something like that. Then this one is very, very important. Please do not discuss taboo topics. Yeah. That you have finished, right, Teacher Rashid?
Yes po, ma'am.
Yes. So also there are some websites that we can use in class. Am I right? That was discussed here in the sensitive issues test. There are 3 websites that we can use, correct? Do you remember? Teacher Nisha? Teacher
Yes,
Nisha,
ma'am.
do you know what are the 3 websites that we can use?
For the 3 websites that we can use, I think the first one is baidu.com.
Correct, yes. That will be if you'd be needing some pictures, right?
Yes.
Baidu.com for pictures, right?
Pictures, yes, ma'am.
Yes, what else? Google Translate, right?
Yes, ma'am. Google
Google
Translate.
Translate, make sure you don't use Google for images because QC will tag you and then they will ask you for commitment letters. There's some penalty. You don't want to go there, right? So whenever you want to translate, just use Google, but only that. Google Translate, Chinese, English. Yun lang ang pwede. What else? There's the third one, which is the Cambridge Dictionary, in case you need it. So I suggest just don't open any. Okay, because of you can probably, there was one instance wherein teacher is having a class and we share the screen, right? um, the messenger or Facebook was open in the tab, one of the tabs here. So teacher just looked at it in 1 second, but students saw it already. It garnered her a complaint because of other websites. So please, when you teach, make sure whatever you have here is just the ITONG Zuo, OEPBK, and then this three if you need it. If you don't open it at all because it will make your system slower too. Is that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Um, in the NL class, when your student has already enrolled in your class, then student will say, oh teacher, I don't like to discuss about this or that. I want to discuss about like this, chocolates, or let's say meron silang preference. So you need to learn how to add topic, right? That you will learn in NL. Is that right, Teacher Nisha? Teacher Nisha,
Yes, ma'am.
do you know how to already add topic? No, you don't?
Not yet, ma'am.
But you finish your NL, right?
I'm still working on the last part, ma'am.
Okay. So there's also when, let's say, because NL is just discussing topic. There's no mock test. But let's say I'm your student and we're discussing topics already. But then I like to know about my score. Then I would say, teacher, let's do a mock test. So what you need to do is change to NL mock because in the system you can change it. Since you're the teacher, you have control of the teaching material, whether there's an ET class, you can change it to ET class, you can change it to practice mode and then add mock test, you can do it, or you can change or add some topics. You can do it in your system. That will be discussed in the NL. Okay. And then lastly, some trackers and deadlines is there are some, since there are some requirements, right, on how many topics you should discuss, that's class based, how many notes you should type in each question, that's class notes. Then if you are there, if let's say this X amount of number of classes, you discussed only maybe in part one, you only discussed one, mga ganon. So you will be in a tracker because our system is computer generated. It can be checked. Yeah. How come it says here remaining time? If we disconnect, let's connect again, okay?
Okay, ma'am.
So, and then for the negative feedback, the serious negative feedback are scoring, wrong scoring. That's why in the training, scoring is kind of in depth, described well. Because if you have a mistake here, just like more than one, let's say my real band score is 5.5, or oh, no, sorry, my real band score is 6, but you gave me 4, so 2 points. So it's very serious mistake because it's more than 1 point difference. So ang acceptable lang is 0.5 is fine na hindi nag-match dun sa band score. So scoring and